Once upon a time, in the ancient city of Babylon, there lived a man named Daniel. Daniel was a devout follower of God, and his faith was unwavering, even in the face of great danger. The king of Babylon, King Darius, had appointed Daniel as one of his top advisors due to his wisdom and integrity. However, there were some jealous officials who plotted against Daniel. They convinced King Darius to issue a decree that for 30 days, no one could pray to any god or man except the king himself. But Daniel refused to obey this decree, as he continued to pray to his God 3 times a day, just as he had always done. When the jealous officials caught wind of Daniel's disobedience, they gleefully reported him to King Darius. The king was deeply troubled, as he held Daniel in high regard and did not want to see him punished. But the law was the law, and King Darius had no choice but to order that Daniel be thrown into the den of hungry lions. As Daniel was thrown into the den, the king said to him, "May your God, whom you serve, continually rescue you." And sure enough, that night, as the hungry lions prowled around him, not a single hair on Daniel's head was harmed. The next morning, King Darius rushed to the den and was overjoyed to find Daniel alive and well. The king was so amazed by this miracle that he issued a decree throughout his kingdom, declaring that the God of Daniel was the one true God, worthy of worship and reverence. Daniel's faith had triumphed over the hungry lions, and his unwavering devotion to God had been rewarded. From that day on, Daniel was held in even higher esteem by King Darius and his people. He continued to serve as a trusted advisor, using his wisdom and faith to guide the kingdom towards prosperity and peace. And the story of Daniel's faith triumphing over the hungry lions became a legend that was passed down through the generations, inspiring others to trust in the power of God.
Once upon a time, Jesus and his disciples set out on a boat to cross the Sea of Galilee. As they sailed, a fierce storm suddenly arose, with waves crashing against the boat and threatening to capsize it. The disciples were terrified, fearing for their lives as the wind howled and the rain poured down. Amidst the chaos, Jesus remained calm and collected. He stood up in the boat and raised his hand, commanding the storm to be still. Instantly, the wind ceased, the waves calmed, and the sea became as smooth as glass. The disciples were amazed at this display of power, realizing that they were in the presence of someone truly extraordinary. Jesus turned to his disciples and said, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" His words struck a chord with them, as they realized that they had doubted his ability to protect them in the midst of the storm. They marveled at his power and authority over nature, recognizing him as the Son of God. From that moment on, the disciples had a newfound respect and awe for Jesus. They witnessed firsthand his miraculous abilities and understood that he was not just a mere man, but a divine being with the power to control the elements. They were filled with gratitude and reverence for him, knowing that they were in the presence of greatness. As they continued their journey across the sea, the disciples reflected on the events that had transpired. They were filled with a sense of peace and security, knowing that Jesus was with them and would always protect them. They had witnessed his power firsthand and knew that they could trust in him no matter what challenges they faced. The story of Jesus calming the storm at sea spread far and wide, reaching the ears of many who were in awe of his miraculous deeds. People flocked to him, seeking his guidance and wisdom, knowing that he was a true miracle worker who could perform wonders beyond their wildest dreams. Jesus' reputation as a powerful and compassionate leader grew as more and more people came to believe in his divine mission. In the end, the disciples learned an important lesson from the storm at sea. They realized that no matter how fierce the storms of life may be, Jesus had the power to calm them and bring peace to their hearts. They trusted in his strength and wisdom, knowing that he would always be there to guide and protect them on their journey through life. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends.
Once upon a time, in a small village nestled in the hills, there lived a woman named Ruth. Ruth was known far and wide for her kindness and unwavering loyalty to those she loved. She had a heart of gold and a spirit that shone brightly, even in the darkest of times. Ruth's kindness was evident in everything she did. She would often be found helping her neighbors with their chores, tending to the sick and elderly, and feeding the hungry. Her generosity knew no bounds, and she never expected anything in return for her acts of kindness. One day, a stranger came to the village in need of help. He was weary and hungry, with no place to rest his head. Ruth took him in without hesitation, offering him food and shelter for as long as he needed. The stranger was touched by Ruth's kindness and vowed to repay her in any way he could. As time passed, the stranger revealed himself to be a wealthy merchant from a distant land. He offered Ruth a job in his household, promising to provide for her and her family for the rest of their days. Ruth, however, declined his offer, choosing instead to remain in the village where her heart belonged. Ruth's loyalty was put to the test when a famine struck the land, leaving many in the village destitute and desperate. Despite the hardships, Ruth remained steadfast in her commitment to her community, sharing what little she had with those in need and offering words of comfort and hope to all who crossed her path. In the end, Ruth's kindness and loyalty were rewarded tenfold. The village prospered once more, and Ruth's name became synonymous with love and compassion. Her story was passed down through the generations as a shining example of biblical morals and the power of a pure heart. And so, Ruth's legacy lived on, a beacon of light in a world that often seemed dark and cruel. Her kindness and loyalty continued to shine brightly, inspiring all who heard her tale to follow in her footsteps and spread love and compassion wherever they went. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. In the land of Egypt, there lived a man named Moses. He was born into a time of great turmoil, as the Pharaoh had ordered the death of all Hebrew baby boys. But Moses' mother, in an act of great courage, placed him in a basket and set him adrift on the Nile River. Miraculously, he was found by the Pharaoh's daughter, who took him in as her own. As Moses grew, he became aware of his true heritage and felt a deep calling to free his people from the oppression of the Egyptians. One day, while tending to his flock in the wilderness, he encountered a burning bush that was not consumed by the flames. From within the bush, a voice spoke to him, saying, "I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt, and I have come to deliver them through you." Filled with awe and trepidation, Moses accepted this divine calling and set out to confront the Pharaoh. With the help of his brother Aaron, he demanded the release of the Hebrew slaves, but the Pharaoh refused. And so began a series of plagues sent by God to convince the Pharaoh to let the people go. Despite the hardships and challenges he faced, Moses remained steadfast in his faith and determination. He led the Israelites out of Egypt, parting the Red Sea with the power of God to escape the pursuing Egyptian army. Through the wilderness, he guided his people, providing them with food and water, and receiving the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. Moses' journey was not without its trials and tribulations. The people grumbled and rebelled against him, and he faced moments of doubt and frustration. But through it all, he remained faithful to his calling and to the God who had chosen him. In the end, Moses never reached the promised land himself, but he had fulfilled his divine purpose. He had led his people out of bondage and set them on the path to freedom, and his legacy lived on in the hearts and minds of the Israelites for generations to come. Moses, a divine calling, is a story of courage, faith, and perseverance. It is a testament to the power of God to work through ordinary individuals to accomplish extraordinary things. And it serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope and redemption for those who believe. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Parable of the Prodigal Son. Journey with a wayward son as he learns the true meaning of forgiveness and redemption in this powerful parable told by Jesus. Through this touching story of love and reconciliation, discover the boundless mercy and grace of God. Once upon a time in a far-off land, there lived a wealthy man with 2 sons. The younger son was restless and eager to explore the world beyond his father's estate. One day, he approached his father and asked for his inheritance early. The father, knowing his son's impulsive nature, reluctantly agreed and gave him his share of the estate. The young man wasted no time in squandering his fortune on extravagant living and reckless behavior. He soon found himself penniless and alone, working as a swineherd just to survive. As he tended to the pigs, he longed for the comfort and security of his father's home. One day, the young man came to his senses and decided to return to his father, humbled and repentant. As he made his way back home, he rehearsed his apology, hoping for forgiveness, saying, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.'" To his surprise, his father saw him from a distance and ran to greet him with open arms. Overwhelmed with emotion, the young man fell to his knees and begged for forgiveness. The father, filled with compassion, welcomed his son back with a grand celebration. He ordered his servants to prepare a feast and invited the entire village to rejoice in his son's return. The older son, who had remained loyal and obedient, was resentful of the attention his wayward brother was receiving. But the father reminded him that his brother was lost and now found, and it was cause for celebration. The parable of the prodigal son teaches us about the power of forgiveness and the unconditional love of a parent. It reminds us that no matter how far we stray, we can always find our way back home. And in the end, it is never too late to seek redemption and reconciliation. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And remember, at Good Labs, we believe in the power of storytelling to uplift, inspire, and bring joy to all. Until next time, remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a magical story or history. Goodbye for now, and keep spreading goodness wherever you go.